Okay, so this is from Naval Ravikant, which I really like listening to him. He's the founder of AngelList. He's done a lot of different things, and he's a big fan of sharing his philosophy on Twitter and other places. Now it's on YouTube. So what he was saying was that most people, let's say like us, or entrepreneurs or driven people, are obsessed with information. I think they're addicted to information. I'm addicted to information. I think a lot of us are. And also, we want to appear smart, especially in certain circles. So, one way that we accomplish that is by reading as many books as possible. Anytime we have a free moment, we read a book, and we don't even allow ourselves to read a fictional book. It has to be nonfiction. It has to be business related, marketing related, blah blah blah. And it's hundreds of books that you cannot remember a single idea from them if you're just racing through
Hmm.
them. And he's offering a proposal. Why not just reread the best 10 books over and over again?
So this is the whole principle of deep is better than wide, basically, is what he's saying here. Um, I like this for several reasons, and I agree with what he's saying, but also I have a hard time following it as a general principle. But before we jump into it, again, me taking us off the tracks, it's cool that I saw that you put um, Naval up here, and just being totally candid with everybody listening, and you, Dimitri, we were at our mastermind in January last month. Long story short, I ended up going to dinner with his brother, Kamal, and a few other people. And at the table, Dimitri, like, Dimitri, you've been doing this for a while. You've been kind of in the marketing circle. You've been on stages. You've been running your business. You're more mature in the world than I am, and in your business as I am. I'm
That's
relatively,
debatable.
at
Mature,
least I
very
think so.
debatable. Sometimes, but
Well, I think compared to me overall, you're ahead. Not in a very good way. Like, you've been doing it for a while. My point of this story is, I'm sitting at that table, and I'm like, how in the hell did I get at this table? I'm not sure if that's ever happened to you, because I'm looking at everybody around the table, and from a net worth perspective, I most certainly am the brokest person. And then probably from an IQ perspective, likely the dumbest person, and most certainly the least famous person at this table. And I'm like, what in the hell am I doing at this table? Which then the good thing, and we'll get into this. Well, you're talking about, I didn't look at it that way. It took me a while to realize that, hey, at least I'm at the table, right? So, anyways, you saying this about the Ravikant, I'm like, holy shit, I have whatever dinner with his brother, which is not I'm not going to go around. I wouldn't go around telling people that. It just happened to come up in this conversation. Now, back to what I think. Or go ahead, please. What are your thoughts on
no.
this?
Well, first I just want to interject a little bit. Is I think that when you find yourself at a table like that, and in that case, what it sounded like to me is you fit right in. So I think you're doing quite a few things right, and maybe you're more mature than you give yourself credit for.
Well, I I appreciate it. I don't always feel like that, but thank you, brother.
Yeah, and you know what? You're not going to feel like that. You're getting out of your comfort zone, but that's where the real growth happens. That's super cliche, but I think it's worth repeating.
Yes, and it goes to your point. It's looking at it in a different way. Is this discomfort, this insecurity is good because I'm in a territory that I've never really been in. Now, going back to what you brought up with this quote, um, I agree 1,000%. I ran into this issue, which I think I told you here recently, where I used to find a book, just let me consume a book, let me consume a book, let me consume a book. And it got to a point, our friend Jason Fladlin uses this term, I stole it from him, is that ends up being mental masturbation. That's it. Like,
That's
that's
what it
exactly what
is.
it is. Yeah. And then, um, and I agree with the whole reading 10 books is better than reading 100. I haven't really shrank it down to reading books as much as what I've been doing now, Dimitri, is I watch Zoom calls. We have a brand new business that we're building, and It's in the world of email marketing and publishing that I have never really, been in. And I'm leading this thing. So what am I doing? I'm rewatching all my Zoom calls that the partners we're working with so that I could make sure I get it. And if I have a meeting today, like for here's an example. I have a meeting that happens once a week with a bunch of the big dogs in there. So what do? The day of that meeting, I make sure I watch the previous week's meeting and take notes and follow up on questions. That way, for that call, I sound like I know what the heck I'm doing. I sound much smarter than I am. It's not that I'm smart. It's just that I actually went back and listened to the last call and had some questions or the things I didn't think to ask in that moment, and I bring them up on the current week's call. But I've been doing that with several things: is watching a lot of Zooms or courses that I can implement that day or that week. That was a lot of me talking. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's a really seemingly obvious strategy to do, is review your notes, but I don't think anybody does it. So how did you figure out that that's a productive use of time?
It was more out of disgust out of myself. Like, why am I listening and reading or, listening to all these books and I'm not doing shit with it? I need information that I can take action on now. So what does that look like? It might be a course for something that I'm trying to do that week. It might be watching some Zoom video of something that I'm in, but whatever it is, whatever I'm consuming, I need to be able to take action on it that day or that week.
Yeah, that's a really cool principle because, like you're saying, even if we're consuming information that is productive, quote unquote, or related to business, it's more of entertainment value. We just transition our entertainment from watching a Netflix series to watching something on YouTube that's informative, but it's not really changing our lives in any way. And I'm going to throw another Naval quote at you because I was on a kind of like I went on a streak of just watching all his videos this past weekend. And so I'm going to throw this other quote at you that I thought was interesting, kind of related to reframing. And here it is. It's the only real test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life.
The only real test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life. Isn't Naval?
Yeah, and let me. So I know that's like a really deep quote, so I'm going to let you think about it while I just speak for a little. um, Essentially, what he's saying, this is going back to what you were saying at the table, is about talking about net worth or talking about popularity or being famous or this and that, and everyone gets to pick what they want in life, whether it is net worth or whatever. He also talks about winning the game. If you're playing the money game, that's good and you need to play the money game, but at some point you need to stop if you've won the game, and knowing when to stop after you've won is important. That's kind of cool. So picking what you want out of life is kind of a big part of this quote, where a lot of times people are copying others. Oh, getting a big house must be what I need to go after, or getting the most money possible or whatever. But maybe in the case that the dinner that you had, that type of experience, that's what you wanted out of life. That's what all of them wanted out of life. They weren't looking for building their portfolio in that moment. They just wanted the connection, and that's what you guys got.
You are the second person in the last, I don't know, 5 days that kind of talked about this. And what I mean by this is like somebody was talking to me about dreams, like these dreams that they have and that they're working towards. And they're like, well, what are your dreams? And I was like, shit, I don't know. Like, I have these goals. I don't know the difference between dreams and goals. There's a difference there, but for me, they're all kind of spaghetti dreams and goals. And I'm like, and it doesn't even matter what my damn dream is or my goal is. Like, there's something that I need to do today that's boring as hell that I need to do over like every single day for the next 3 to 5 years to hit my dreams and goals. And so I'm just going to focus on this thing I need to hit, this boring thing I need to do to accomplish my dreams or goals. Now, here's the thing. What I'm noticing with the dreams or goals, something that you said that stood out to me is that goal line keeps moving. And when I hit the goal or whatever it is, it's anticlimactic, right? It's kind of like, oh, all right, I hit it. Well, what's the next thing? The next thing. So for you, what are your thoughts on that quote, and how does your life look to like, what does it look like for you today in regard to that quote? Like, do you have something where hey, I'm going to stop and work on something else, or is your goal line continuously moving?
Whoa, deep question. I think the goal has to continuously move for a while, until you actually reach the ultimate goal in that game that you played. For example, let's take the money game, for example. Let's if you say to yourself, if I make, or if I have $20 million liquid net, a lot of money, that means I never have to work again. If I don't want to, I don't have, actually better said, I don't have to work on anything I don't want to. I never have to spend my time doing anything I don't want to be doing. So, but going from, let's just say going from zero to $20 million, very hard, nearly impossible. But going from zero to $10,000, from 10,000 to 100,000, from 100,000 to a million, and so on, and taking steps by step. So you
Mm,
have to break things up. When I was an ice hockey referee, okay, like I used to do a lot of game. I would referee a lot of games. That was my income. The way to get through a game, let's say I have 3 games scheduled in a row, that's 4.5 hours on ice skates, and fully mentally engaged into the game if you want to do it properly and be a good referee. So it's a difficult challenge. And to get yourself up to that, like, oh man, I got to do this for 4.5 hours, is difficult. But I can break it up into games. It's 3 games. Every game has a period. Every period is 15 to 20 minutes. I can break that into pieces. And so I think that's what we're always doing, breaking goals into pieces. But once we've reached the goal, we need to stop. And sometimes we don't know when.
is there a difference between a dream and a goal for you?
A goal is something that's achievable. I could see the path to getting there. And then I think the dream is more abstract, unrealistic, at least in the current moment, or maybe more far out, years down the line or decades. That's more so a dream if there's no plan to get there.
That makes sense. And I also wonder, and there could be several arguments for this, but it's like, I guess Dimitri, I struggle with the whole dream and goals thing. So I'm like, dreams have been accomplished. So if you're going to dream it up, why not take actions to get towards it? It's that whole cliche is you could, you aim for the moon, and if you fall short, you land with the stars or something, right? And so isn't that how it is with
Is one
does
or
that
the
make
other.
sense?
Maybe aim for the stars or land at the moon, or one of
Yeah,
those. But
moon.
in both cases,
Yeah,
I, sure, aim big, of course. But I think having a plan, it doesn't have to be written out concretely. But if you can picture the steps to get to your dream, then it becomes a goal,
got it.
in my opinion.
What were your thoughts on the original quote of the 10 books over and over better than 100?
First, I think it's important to determine which 10 books those are going to be. And without reading books, you can't ever determine what the top 10 are. I mean, you could take somebody's word for it.
Yes.
For example, let's say Naval, you like his work, you say, hey, what are the 10 best books? And you can read his 10. But for everybody, it's going to be different. So you have to read through some books to get to your 10. But once you do, I don't think it's set in stone. You can now only read these 10 for the rest of your life. Maybe you keep reading one old one new one, and then back to an old one, and then a new one, until you can get another new one that can become an old one that you can start rereading. But I do agree that the best content, meaning like a best book, a best YouTube video, a best Zoom meeting, whatever, is a category or an exponential more valuable than the next step down in content. So I'd rather, for example, when it comes to marketing or explaining it simply, the Hormozy books are really great, in my opinion. It just does a great job explaining them. So I would rather read those 10 times and digest everything than 10 different marketing books.
What is the one book that you've read the most?
I like scientific advertising. It's scientific advertising by, let's see, I think I forgot what the author's name is, but let me see if I can Google them really quick. Scientific advertising. It's a short book, and it just goes into principles of of traditional advertising. Okay, Claude Hopkins. Claude Hopkins,
Yeah.
really good book, short, simple
Old
to the
book, huh?
point with examples. Yeah, I've read that one several times. I love that one for marketing because it's quick and easy to digest, and man, principles are great.